All right, welcome back to another episode of the Hockey North podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Kroom, as always, alongside my good friend Brendan Pawliw. Brendan, how are you doing today?
I'm well. A very busy weekend sports wise, but very fun time of year. We had Prince George Cougars at home, U17 Caribou Cougars at home, Prince George Spruce Kings on the road, Northern Capitals on the road, and I mixed in some soccer in there, broadcasting some university games Friday and Sunday. So all in all, a pretty fun weekend, and honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's very, very well to hear. Lots of stuff going on here on this weekend, a lot of firsts, home openers, and season openers. I know for me, it's been really busy on the Caribou Cougars side of things, as we had the U17 AAA Caribou Cougars home opener here in Kintu as they hosted the Okanagan Rockets, as well as covering the showcase from a distance as they were down in Langley, where the U15 AAA Caribou Cougars had an impressive sweep yet again against some of the lower mainland teams in the BC Elite Hockey League. And overall, just really excited to be back in the thick of it here and know being around the guys, being around the teams, and getting the media all covered. It's been a lot of fun, and it's a good feeling. Everyone's excited when that puck drops opening night.
Of course, Prince George Cougars, 3 out of 4 points. Opening weekend against the Spokane Chiefs, 4-3 overtime loss, followed up by a 3-1 win against Spokane on Saturday. And all in all, I'd say, despite missing as much firepower as they were, a pretty successful weekend for the Prince George Cougars. And I'd have to say, one player who's really impressive for me anyway, was Jet Lajoie.
Yeah, I know from the Friday game that I went to there for the home opener, Jet Lajoie from start to finish was by far one of the best players on the ice for the Cougars. And last year he didn't get a lot of opportunities, to be offensive with his game as he's played very much in that shut down power forward role in the bottom six. But he put in the work over the summer. He looks like he is ready to take that step forward and with the absences of our big guns like Riley Heidt, Tarek Parasak, we basically don't have a top six, right? So he got that opportunity and he looked really good. And I think him, along with the 16-year-olds that have gotten a lot of ice over the last two nights, were really impressive and put on a show for the fans here in Prince George. There's a lot to be excited about for the Prince George Cougars this season.
Of course, Boria Vallis, Bauer Demansky, coming back just in time for the 5 game road trip upcoming for Prince George. I would imagine some of these big names will trickle back to the Cougars here eventually, but for now, you're seeing a lot of young players get extended looks. You're seeing some scrambly play at times and even some youthful mistakes. But all in all, the Cougars in a pretty good spot, not only presently, but with the cupboard being quite full.
Yeah, it's a really good position for this organization. Last year they were relatively conservative on the trade front. Mark Lamb did a really good job putting the team together in the summer, and over the last few years, really to be as good as they were last year, and even with some key departures, with players they have returning and some of the players that they've brought in, the drop off isn't going to be anywhere um, noticeable, I don't think, and I think it's going to be another very exciting year of hockey for the Cougars.
Obviously, they had the conference finals berth last year, getting close to that game 6 against Portland. They lost, unfortunately, in overtime, but this group, sans a few graduates here and there, uh, arguably one of the better teams on paper, and would like to come back with a vengeance to not only head back to the conference finals, but potentially finish the job as well and get to a league final this season with this current crop.
All right, and Ravensburgen came back. This is the X factor for the Cougars season and a run. He got a bit taller over the summer and he gained 11 pounds, and he looks bigger in the net. And it's his D1 draft here, along with Jet Lajoie as well. But those are two guys I think that are going to be, I think big players for the team this year. But Ravensburgen especially. I think if he can continue what he did last year and build upon it this year, um, the Cougars have a really darn good chance at making a big run for it and potentially win the league and maybe go to the Mem Cup this year.
Switching gears to Seattle, a couple of Williams Lake products were very prominent over the weekend. Colton Garrier, 2 goals for him in the season opening weekend. Jackson Dicker coming on in relief following a lopsided loss to Wenatchee on Saturday. Dicker was slated to be the U18 #1 goalie this year, and that's still the plan for now. But Dicker, like Garrier, with Seattle in a midst of a lengthy rebuild, as what it would seem, going to get every opportunity to succeed here with the Thunderbirds.
I mean, yeah, as you said, he was and still is slated to be the starting goalie for the U18 Caribou Cougars. But we look at how good of a camp Jackson had with Seattle this year. I had a really good look in the preseason, made a really nice save that got some notoriety against Portland in the preseason as well. And now he's got a bit of a taste of the regular season. And with Ratzlaff gone, if they can give him a few more games, give him some more opportunity, if he really impresses management and the team, there's a good chance that he pushes the envelope there on that Ratzlaff deal being done and furthering that rebuild for the team.
Of course, Garrier, a high-scoring forward coming out of the Canadian Sports School ranks, 2 goals. A guy that's already flashed his potential after getting called up last year, and again, one of those building blocks who will have every opportunity to at least play in the top 6 or top 9.
Yeah, great opportunity for Derrier as well. And I remember watching one of the games that he played last year as a call for Seattle, and he's very tenacious with the puck, and he was finding the right spots. He was taking the puck to the right areas, and that can be hard to do sometimes as a call up to that level. But he seemed to handle it with poise, and no surprise that he's having a hot start to the year for Seattle. And it's going to be very interesting to see what this opportunity does for him.
Now on to Vancouver here. PG's Cameron Schmidt picking up right where he left off with the Vancouver Giants. 4 goals over the weekend and a pair of positive results for Vancouver. And fresh off that U18 gold medal where he assisted on the game winner, Cameron Schmidt off to the races, rediscovering his goal scoring touch in the opening weekend. And another guy that's going to be a catalyst for the G-men if they wish to have some playoff success this season.
Yeah, I mean, Cameron Schmidt, I think the only way to put it is he's a pure goal scorer, and he showed impressive skill in doing that last season for the Giants. But now with Hanzik gone, Lipinski gone, some big name guys aren't going to be here for the Giants. And, Cameron Schmidt being another year older, it's his D1 draft year. He's got every opportunity here to score more goals and really show his game at that level. And, maybe hear his name called high in the first round next summer.
Mm-hmm. And of course, now looking to the BCHL, the Prince George Spruce Kings, 2-1 on a 3-game and 3-night road trip. A huge emphatic win over the defending champions Surrey Eagles was followed up by a dramatic come-from-behind game against Chilliwack, winning 3-2. Kind of fell flat there against Langley, dropping a 4-0 decision on Sunday afternoon. So a 2-1 mark. And maybe a chance at redemption for the Spruce Kings this year to climb back up in the standings, as last couple seasons have not gone according to plan, at least according to the organization, and maybe a chance here to redeem themselves going into their home opening weekend against Coquitlam Friday and Saturday.
I mean, yeah, I mean, we talked about this, quite a few times before recording the podcast here, but the Spruce Kings, they're an organization that they've achieved great success in recent memory. And, the city and the fans, once you taste that, you want to see it again. And, unfortunately for the organization, they haven't had that in the last couple of years. And, last year was a very tough year. I know for, the players in the room, coaching staff, management, it wasn't a position that I think they anticipated to be in, nor a position that they wanted to be in. But this year they got some new faces in the organization, a couple more northern born players, Mason Lowen from Charlie Lake. And then you've got Ryder Green, right here from Prince George, joining the likes of Van Hoof product, Lyndon Mack, Howe, Quinnell product, Cutter Hesselgrave. I think it's going to be a really good year for the Spruce Kings as you got some really good talent there. And as we talked about before, it is a contract year for Alex Evan. For him, it's going to be very important that this team does well heading into the offseason. And I think they have a good shot at doing it this year.
And speaking of Ryder Green, his first career regular season start in the BCHL, absolutely sterling, making 40 of 42 saves against the Chiefs, single-handedly willing them to victory. And for Ryder picking up right where he left off after he had a pretty impressive playoff against the Penticton Vees as the emergency goaltender in games 3 and 4 right here in Prince George.
Yeah, I mean, Ryder Green, I was checking his numbers today. And he finished off the playoffs against Penticton with a .931 save percentage. For a young goaltender to be thrown into the fire like that and to play it with such poise. And Penticton is one of the best offensive teams in the BCHL. And, I believe they went on to go play Surrey and lost to Surrey in the BCHL finals. So, they were a very good team and Ryder did it really well. And, he had a whole summer to continue to grow, to get stronger, to work on his craft. And he looks very much ready to take on this opportunity to potentially be the number one guy here for the PG Spruce Kings.
Yeah, and they got another 19-year-old in there, and Cooper Wishart, and maybe at the very least a solid 1-2 punch for the Prince George Spruce Kings this year, and what is hoping to be a much more return to prominence. They're going to be back in the old mainland division with some familiar foes in Chilliwack, Langley, Coquitlam, Surrey, just to name a few. So a familiar travel schedule for the Prince George Spruce Kings as they head back and are part of some divisional realignment with the Alberta teams now in the fold for a full season. So anticipation is definitely high, as well as the expectations internally for the Prince George Spruce Kings heading into next Friday and Saturday at home against the Express.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I'm definitely very excited to be there for the home opener this Friday.
Yeah, I'll be there as well, and it should be a good time. Switching gears, once again, a very exciting weekend down in the Caribou, the Quesnel River Rush, and the Williams Lake Mustangs host their first two ever KIJHL games on home ice. Mustangs 2-0. Quesnel unfortunately dropping both those games, but some added excitement in the Prince George and Caribou regions with two more junior caliber teams now able to be iced, and it should only add to the excitement and the passion that the region has for its junior hockey, and especially now in that Caribou corridor. Not only do you have Quesnel and Williams Lake, but you add 100 Mile into the mix, and it should be quite the interesting rivalry between those three squads.
Oh, and that's just it. The rivalry is going to be awesome between those three teams. They're going to play each other a lot for the geographical reasons, but it's really huge for the communities to have these teams. There's been a hole in Quesnel and Williams Lake since they lost their BCHL franchises, and for them to be able to have junior hockey to for the young kids to watch and to give back to the minor hockey communities and the other aspects of the hockey community and other areas of the community is super important. And even outside of their communities, for a lot of hockey players growing up in these smaller communities that have the chance to be able to, play close to home and to get to that next level, this is another pathway that's going to be, I think, really beneficial. And we're already seeing a lot of Northern talent on both these rosters for the inaugural seasons. And I think it is very exciting, and I'm very happy to see these two teams starting up and to have a bit of a revival here in the North for junior hockey.
Yeah, Isaiah Bagri, Liam Richardson, Garrett Feeney, among the Caribou grads who are on the rosters, respectively, of Quesnel and Williams Lake. Also want to mention a lot of Caribou graduates and a lot of Northern BC players in general, just on junior rosters all across the junior network. of leagues across Western Canada. This weekend alone, you had Kenyon McIsaac joining his brother Brady with the Alberni Valley Bulldogs. Kenyon, of course, had a taste of the BCHL last year with Chilliwack. Supposed to sign with Bagri in Grand Prairie. They were initially committed there, but obviously Bagri decided to play in the KI at home, while Kenyon wanted to join his older brother back in the BCHL. So there's that. You also have Logan Helk, Drayton Valley in the Alberta Junior Hockey League. Congratulations to Logan there. Josh Sale, Merrick Mammock playing with Humboldt. You have Owen Wilkinson, William McKay on the rosters of the Larange Ice Wolves, and a whole slew of players in the KIJHL from the northern region. You've got some sprinkled in the Vancouver Island Junior Hockey League, playing for Lake Cowichan and a couple other franchises at Kerry Park Islanders as well. Down on the island, and even in the Pacific Junior Hockey League, three former Caribou Cougars on one team: Peyton Lake Cote and then American Jesse Bordeaux with the Chilliwack Chiefs. And then, of course, you got the Canadian Sports School hockey leagues with a lot of Prince George and Northern BC talent sprinkled in. So, a lot of players, a lot of ground to cover in a short season for us. And then, of course, you've got the collegiate ranks of both the NCAA and the Canada West. So a lot of these minor hockey programs doing quite a bit right in cultivating and developing talent and ascending them to that next level.
I mean, you said it right there. It all starts with the grassroots hockey programs, your minor hockey associations, and I think it's fair to say when you look across the board in a lot of these smaller communities, it is filled to the brim with passionate, not just passionate hockey people, but passionate hockey people that are, passionate about their community and they're wanting to give back to the next generation, give opportunities to the kids, and invest time and development into them. And it's really cool to see a lot of these players being able to work their way into opportunities, maybe in the North, but sometimes even further outside of the North, and still representing the North and where they're from along the way.
Yeah, normally we'd have a huge rundown of a lot of the northern players that are playing elsewhere. Might not be able to do that in this week's show, but we'll do that in weeks after that. We've obviously had a few guests on the podcast already. Our last one was Haley Armstrong, the Northern Capital graduate playing at Bemidji State. We've had Scott Cousins, Amar Power, Decker Moichin. We also kicked things off at the Elk Center as well for our season opening podcast. So lots to look forward to, uh, lots to be happy about with a lot of the players that are on rosters. And I guess if you want to swing back to the Western Hockey League, it'd be remiss, not to mention the likes of Chase Harrington, who was already here with the Spokane Chiefs in the season opening weekend, playing his second full season in the Western Hockey League. He was one of the three stars and got a pretty nice ovation from the home fans in Friday's 4-3 victory. And Chase, like many others, looking to take that next step in his development in the Western Hockey League with the Chiefs.
I mean, yeah, there's nothing more special than being able to kick off the season in front of your friends and your family in your hometown, even when you're just on the road on the away team. It's a good feeling, and super happy that Chase could yet again come here and play in front of his friends and family at this level.
Of course, not only played here during the regular season, part of that first round playoff matchup, and just nice to see these hometown players not only play but play prominent roles with their respective franchises. I do want to mention while we have quite a bit of time left, we've covered the junior teams extensively. Want to dip into the Northern Capitals, a pretty solid preseason trip to Manitoba. Lots of positive results there, and they're another team that's looking to get back up to prominence after spending a couple of years retooling, as it were, going through a few different coaches.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a carousel for the Northern Capitals over the last couple of years, and I think it didn't help that once Haley Armstrong moved on from the program, and some players aged out, and you had a couple other players go for other opportunities. You lost a lot of leadership and you lost a lot of offense, right? And that can go one of two ways. It can provide the opportunities for players that are waiting for the opportunity, and they just assume the position, and it starts to go well. And with the added opportunities, you start to see the results. But unfortunately, for the last few years, we just haven't had the goal scorers here on the Northern Capitals roster. And I think now this year we have a few players that have really good offensive instincts, that have a good touch finish around the net. Jordan Garneau's taking over as the head coach this year, and just from a couple conversations with him, he looks like he's a really good fit for the group of players that we have, and he's a very good coach from what I can tell, and he's got a good sense for the game, and he's got a good understanding about the development needs at this age for the players. And I think understanding the players and what you're working with and how to best approach the game and approach all situations with them is so crucial. I think it's going to be a very exciting year for the Northern Capitals, and I think we are going to have a lot of fun calling those games this year.
And talk about exciting. Nothing was more exciting over the weekend was the Caribou Cougars U15 showcase, where they pretty much picked up right where they left off to end last year at the end of season showcase. And the younger Boychin, Kadrick Boychin, 12 points, 4 games, I believe 7 goals. And, this team has come out guns a-blazing, similar to what they did second half of last year into the playoffs. And they haven't skipped a beat.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it earlier. You look back to last season, they didn't have a great start for the U15s. And just after Christmas, everything came together. Last year, they had an impressive showcase where they won every single game, and, battled their way into the playoffs and had a pretty good run in the playoffs. And yeah, they've picked up right where they left off this year. A lot of new faces have joined the program this year. Two new goalies, as Ivan Anderson has moved on to the U17 AAA Caribou Cougars. But, I was talking to Merced, and he gets the feeling there's something special about this group. When you talk to the players, not just seeing the skill on the ice, but you talk to them off the ice, you get a really good feel about, the character of the kids that are coming onto your team. You get to talk to the parents, and I think this sounds like it's a really good group, and it seems like from what we've seen, there's a really quick buy-in from everybody involved, and it's going to be a very, very exciting season for the U15 Caribou Cougars. And I don't think it's a bold statement to say that they could be the team to beat this year for this division.
Yeah, and hopefully they can keep the train rolling here as they're off to a perfect start. U17s 0-4 at the other end of the spectrum, playing back-to-back against Kelowna for the second straight weekend. Not the start they wanted, although they're missing their 2 best defensemen in Vinny Vassallo as well as Liam Elstad. Some promising results over last weekend against Okanagan, but not quite there at this point in terms of the wins and maybe the offense, but a chance for that group to regroup, as it were, and maybe find their ceilings as you head towards the latter half of this first portion of the season.
Yeah, and with a similar situation here for the U17s, they have a lot of new faces and quite a few players coming into Prince George from out of town. So a lot of those smaller communities, the highest level of play that they have is double A. In the North, the Caribou Cougars are the only AAA program to offer. So there's a transition there, right? Some of the plays you can get away with in double A at a bit of a slower pace. You just can't get away with it here in the AAA ranks. I think you saw a bit of that this weekend against Okanagan. And keep in mind, Okanagan came into our last weekend. They already played 4 games prior to the home opener they had where they hosted the U17 Cougars down there. And then so they come back here. They've played 6 games where we've only played 2. So there is a transition to be had. I think there were some really good bright spots. They're very physical. They're engaged. They're competing for pucks. This is going to take a bit of time to build some chemistry, to learn the structure, and just to get things rolling. But I see the skill there, the talents there. They have Ivan Anderson in nets, and they have Hatton as well from near the Fort St. John area. And, solid goaltending is crucial. But overall, I think that this team has the tools in the box to be a good team this year. It's just going to take a little bit to get rolling, but I have no doubt they're gonna come to form here very soon.
And the U18's off to a good start as well, minus a Jackson Dicker, 3 out of 4 points against Greater Vancouver. And the U18s, much like the U15s, looking to carry some of the positive momentum built from last season into this year. Not the end of the playoffs that the Cougars were looking for, being a mere few minutes away from heading to the league final. They fell short against Vancouver Northeast, but again, this is looking like a strong crop of talent for Tyler Bruff and company.
Yeah, I mean it's you're gonna miss some of the departures. Isaiah Bagger was a really big player for U18 last year, but you're getting a lot of those really prominent players from the U17 team the season prior. We're looking at Tedesco, you're looking at Collison, Lettington, and early on, all three of those guys have been key players for the Caribou Cougars U18s here this weekend, and um, it's a deep team again this year. And even in the case if Dicker doesn't come back, Andrik Ligas is a very capable and eager goaltender between the pipes, and he's got Matthias Ramos Gadwall behind him, who's been here since playing in the U15s, and so you've got the depth in goal and you've got the depth up front. The defense is a very capable defense with some really talented D-men on the top pair. So I think all around, I think it's going to be a really good season here for the Caribou Cougars. I think at all three levels.
Mhm. Yeah, and I'll be excited to see them at home here in a couple of weeks. I may not be able to see their home opener, but I know that you will, being a part of the Caribou media staff. I am as well, but got some soccer commitments between now and mid-October. But past that, be at the rink fairly regularly from a Caribou point of view, and it should be another exciting year for all four of the Caribou umbrella teams, if you include the Capitals in that mix. Anything else you want to touch on or recognize here from the past weekend on this episode?
Um, Maybe more so just like a look ahead to what's coming up here on this next upcoming weekend. We have two home openers happening here on Saturday for the Caribou Cougars. We have the U15s and we have the U18s, all stationed in Kin 1 back to back. I remember all games are free and there's a lot of fun talent to entertain you and your whole family. Come check it out. They are the stars of tomorrow. As we stated, there's players that are on the a lot of players that are on the Prince George Bruce Kings that came through and developed in our programs. And we've had some players of ours go play for the Prince George Cougars and have a lot of success there. So this is a really good chance to make yourself familiar with the talent that we have here in our hometown.
Well said, and I think that'll do it here for our last episode, or at least our latest episode of the Hockey North podcast. So, for my co-host Tyler Lazat, this is Brendan Pawliw signing off, and we'll see you here next week.